Do you guys like my new shirt? It's Crue Trime time. I don't have a song. That's not a thing that happens over here. Hi guys, welcome back. In today's episode of Crue Trime. Crue Trime. Crue Trime. Crue Trime? So in today's episode of Crue Trime, I am telling the story of the Lululemon murders. It's actually only one murder. Okay. Before we get started, you may have noticed a really cool shirt. So I finally have Crue Trime merch now, you guys. So my threadless store has all of my merch, all my Better Off Red merch, my Goblin merch, all that stuff. It took me a little bit longer to come up with a Crue Trime design because I actually commissioned this design from a really incredible artist that I found on Instagram. Her handle is right here on the screen. Cursive. Her name is Ashley and she's an incredible artist. She does like a lot of really beautiful hand lettering. It's all kind of spooky vibes, a lot of Beetlejuice vibes, and you know I love Beetlejuice. So she came up with this awesome design that I'm so excited about. It's available on t-shirts, as you can see. God, I love it so much. Isn't it cool? Crue Trime. Just check out my threadless storefront. It'll be linked down in the description box. You can get this on the baseball tee, you can get it on the regular tee, and you can get it in red. And special now, mugs! This is the extra large size. There's two sizes of mugs. There's like the regular standard size mug, and then this is like the 15 ounce, a little bit bigger. Also, I heard some sound. Do you guys hear that?
Hoodies! Who comes out with merch and doesn't make a hoodie?
We want hoodies. We want hoodies!
Okay, I hear you. Hoodies. Hooded sweatshirts are now available in the Crue Trime logo exclusively. You can get it in the sponge fleece or in the French terry. It's available in gray and in red. Enjoy. Thank you to the lovely Michelle and lovely Kate the Great Beauty. Their channels will be linked down in the description box as well, and inspiring me to make a goddamn hoodie already. So let's get down to the Crue Trime. I think I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead and just have my foundation done because that is boring. Nobody wants to see that, so I'll be right back. Maybe I should have talked about my merch when I didn't look like a straight goblin. On with the murders. Sounds terrible. On the morning of March 12th, 2011, one of the managers of the Bethesda, Maryland Lululemon, if you're not familiar, if you live under a rock, Lululemon is an upscale yoga-focused activewear store, exercise clothes. So the manager arrived at the Bethesda, Maryland location to open the store for the day, and she found the front door unlocked. As she got further into the store, it became clear that something was really wrong. There appeared to have been a struggle, clothing, displays, there were bloody footprints. Yikes. Everything was everywhere. It was just a mess. So she ran outside, smart, and called police. A bystander who saw her upset offered to go inside to, check it out for her. He went inside, he followed the blood to the back of the store, and he discovered two employees. One was 29-year-old Brittany Norwood. She was tied up in the bathroom, alive. And 30-year-old Jayna Murray was in the back hallway, lying face down in a pool of blood. So Brittany and Jayna were the two staff members that had closed that store up the night previous. All of the money from the store's safe was missing. The cash registers were turned over. It looked like this was a robbery that went very wrong, violent. Jayna Murray was born in 1980 in Kansas. She grew up in Texas and by all accounts was a great student, great athlete, very friendly and adventurous, just like an all-around fun-time gal. She, at the time of this murder, had been pursuing her second master's degree from Johns Hopkins University, and she was about 2 months away from graduating when this happened. Brittany Norwood was born in 1982. She grew up in a Seattle suburb. She graduated from Decatur High School in 2000. She was a standout soccer player, and she went on to play soccer on a scholarship at Stony Brook University in New York. When she eventually moved to the Washington, D.C. area, she was living with her sister and she started pursuing becoming a personal trainer, which is what kind of led her to start working at Lululemon. So Jayna was pronounced dead at the scene. The medical examiner later reported that the amount of trauma that Jayna had suffered was incredible. She had suffered catastrophic wounds to her head. She had been stabbed and strangled, all totaling over 300 unique wounds. This was an extremely violent attack. Brittany had a laceration on her head, and she had cuts and scrapes on her torso, arms, and legs, and she was in and out of consciousness when she had been discovered. She was taken to the hospital, and there she spoke initially with investigators. She asked about Jayna, of course, and when they told her that Jayna hadn't survived, she was very upset and cried. But she was able to kind of recount what happened. So she told investigators that she and Jayna had closed up that store the evening before, but after they left, she realized that she had forgotten her wallet inside the store, so she had called Jayna and asked her to reopen the store so she could get inside and get what she needed, because her Metro card was in there and all that stuff. When they went back in, two men wearing masks followed them into the store. It got real bad. So Brittany detailed how one of the men hit Jayna in the face, and when Brittany tried to make a break for the door, another man threw her to the ground, grabbed her by the hair, and threatened to cut her throat. The men dragged Jayna to the back of the store. She heard Jayna fighting these men. Or man, there's two men. Brittany also said that the both of them had been sexually assaulted by the men before Jayna was left in the back hallway. Brittany was taken to the bathroom and restrained with zip ties and left to, I don't know, die, I guess. The scene was just truly shocking. So Bethesda is a very wealthy suburb of Washington, D.C. on the northwest side of town. The store, this Lululemon store, was located on Bethesda Row, which is a very upscale, fancy type of shopping area. Nearby is like Apple Store, Williams-Sonoma, Mercedes-Benz, yada yada. It's also a very safe area. There is never any crime there. Definitely no violent crime, ever. There wasn't really a lot of security cameras being employed, and also remember, this is 2011, so it wasn't there yet. The only store nearby that actually had security camera footage that was relevant, nearby that would show something, was the Apple Store, which is right next door. When police reviewed the footage, they saw two men matching Brittany's description. They were dressed in dark clothes, they were wearing knit caps. Bam, suspects, right? So the police went straight into action. They offered a $150,000 reward. They staked out the area, like the whole thing. They eventually did see two men that looked exactly like the men from the security footage. When the police approached, they showed the men stills from the security footage, and the guys were like, yeah, that's us. But it turns out they were busboys that worked at a nearby restaurant, and that was just their regular route that they walked home after their shifts. So, not them. So police were investigating Brittany's story and trying to put the pieces together as they were told. And with the evidence on the scene, the community was freaking out. I mean, the community was like totally on edge. The media was in a frenzy because it was so sensational. It was horrifying also. Once the investigators began to make sense of the evidence from the scene, they got even more confused. So remember, Brittany had told them, investigators, that she and Jayna had both been sexually assaulted. Their pants were ripped up and all of that. But the medical examination concluded that no, they hadn't. Interviews with employees at the neighboring Apple store revealed that they had heard a late night scuffle and raised voices, women's raised voices, but they didn't hear any men's voices. Let's use this Supershock shadow, shall we? It's very exciting. So the forensic evidence from the blood stains in the store from the bloody footprints, they showed that there was only 2 sets of footprints. So remember, Brittany said that she and Jayna had been attacked by 2 men, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, the weapons or the objects that had been used in the attack, they all came from inside the store. There was a hammer, a wrench, a rope, a knife from the break room, and some merchandising equipment like poles and things. If the men who had attacked Brittany and Jayna were there to rob the store, wouldn't they have brought their own weapons? Guns even? And if that's the case, why hadn't they been shot? It's just all, okay. So the pieces had either started to come together or fall apart, I guess, depending on your point of view. So things really started to come to a boil when Jayna's car had been inspected and there was blood inside from Jayna and Brittany. All right, so police really started to get confused, more confused. They didn't start. The whole thing was like, what? What's happening? So the police started to question Brittany's story because it just didn't add up with the evidence that they were seeing. But you know what? If they were going to go down this road, accuse one of the victims of some kind of involvement, that they had better be right. So they questioned Brittany again, asking if she'd ever been in Jayna's car, and she said no. So that little question from police must have really gotten Brittany's wheels turning, because she later ended up coming back to the police station, you know, on her own, and she wanted to talk to the police to let them know that she started remembering things that she had previously, I guess, lost. So she said that the attackers forced her to move Jayna's car and then come back or they'd kill her like they killed Jayna. So hang on. Let's think about this. The attackers that had just killed her coworker and assaulted her said, we want you to go move Jayna's car alone, and she had the opportunity to straight up drive away and didn't? Brittany. Girl. Okay, so police are officially onto Brittany's bullshit. So when Brittany had come back to speak with police about her, you know, amazing memory recall, she had brought her siblings with her, her brother and sister. So police decided to try to leverage that relationship to try to squeeze a confession or, you know, just more information out of Brittany. So Brittany's sister was, you know, visibly upset and did not last long in the room. I think she saw what was going on there because, you know, they just left them alone together. Of course, everything's being recorded. So they left them alone together, and the brother was saying, like, straight up asked Brittany, were you involved in any way? We can fix this. Like, just tell me what's going on. And Brittany said, I don't want to talk here. What is it that the kids say now? Sus. I know what you're thinking. This poor girl Brittany was attacked. Really, how? Well, once police really started to look into Brittany, it was clear that she was not that innocent. I hate myself. Okay, so although Brittany was very successful as a soccer player in high school and in college, she gained a reputation among her teammates and roommates of having sticky fingers. She was a little steely. She took things that didn't belong to her. Things actually were so bad for Brittany in school that she ended up losing that soccer scholarship because she got kicked off the team. There was also other instances that came to light of her just stealing and being dishonest. So there was definitely a pattern with Brittany. So yeah, she was a little bit adrift, especially after having to leave school. She relocated to Washington, D.C. and moved in with her sister. She got a job at the Willard Hotel, which is right by the White House. It's super fancy. It was then that she kind of set her sights on becoming a VIP personal trainer, and she was going to try to leverage the relationships, the connections that she had made working at the Willard. You know, that's VIP clientele. That's exactly what she wanted to do. She started working at Lululemon in Georgetown. In Georgetown, it's a super old neighborhood in Northwest Washington, D.C. It's super fancy. It's very boutique, you know. So she started working at Lululemon in Georgetown. Her patterns started to pop up. Kind of the same problem that she had in college, if you know what I'm saying. So there were thefts, suspicious disappearances of items. I guess that's theft. Suspicious purchases, employee discount abuse. But there wasn't really enough hard evidence to terminate her employment, but the relationship had become so strained that she had requested to transfer to a different store. So that's how she got started working at the Bethesda location. Oh my God, there is glitter all over my face. The same kind of behavior that got Brittany transferred from Georgetown to Bethesda started to happen in Bethesda. It started to become a problem, and they were trying to catch her. So here's what really happened that night in Bethesda based on police evidence and forensic analysis. At 9:45 p.m. on March 11th, Brittany and Jayna had closed the store and left for the evening. And company policy, at least at the time, was for all employees leaving their shift to have their bags checked. for theft. And anybody that's worked retail knows that that's not really like that unusual. So when Jayna checked Brittany's bag, she found a pair of pants, and Brittany did not have the receipt. So Brittany claimed that another employee had checked her out earlier that day. Jayna called the associate that Brittany had mentioned, and that person said, nope, sure didn't, not me, I don't know what you're talking about. So then Jayna called the manager to report finding that stolen merchandise in Brittany's bag, like, ha, we got her, right? So this was all in the span, these calls were all in the span of after leaving the store, and then Brittany called Jayna to ask her to let her back in the store because she forgot something. So Jayna had drove back to the store, parked right out front, you know, because it was just gonna be a second. They went back inside at about 10 p.m. So a short time later, employees at the neighboring Apple store heard a woman's voice yelling. They banged on the wall, but didn't pursue anything further. They heard a woman's voice yelled, "Talk to me, don't do this," and other screams and yelps. And eventually they heard a voice say, "God help me, please help me." The Apple employees just thought it was girl drama. Can we just, real quick, by the way, let this be a reminder to you that if you are ever a witness, audio witness, right? You just hear something and it seems weird or it makes the little hairs on your arms and the back of your neck stand up, say something. You don't have to personally intervene, especially if it puts your personal physical safety at risk, but like, call for help. If you see something, say something. There was an attack happening in the store. Brittany attacking Jayna. So later, Brittany moved Jayna's car, which had been parked right out front, and then she walked the quarter mile back to Lululemon. She had put a baseball cap on because in their fight, Brittany had gotten hit in the head, you know, from Jayna fighting back. So she was just covering that up so somebody wouldn't see her, I guess. She left the hat in the car. Oops. So once Brittany was back in the store, she got to work creating the fake robbery scene. She cut Jayna's pants to make it look like she'd been assaulted. Actually then assaulted her with a wooden hanger. Gross. She put on a pair of men's shoes, like sneakers, and walked all through the blood. She then attempted to wash the blood off of the shoes, and then she put the shoes back on the shelf. So the store keeps a pair of men's shoes and women's shoes in like the largest size available so that they fit everybody, and they're kept in the store so people can try them on while they're getting their pants altered. I don't know who's altering athletic pants, but okay, Lululemon. She then staged her own assault and she zip tied herself up. She used her teeth to pull the little tie closed. You know? By the way, her hands were tied up in front of her, but not to anything else. When she was discovered the next morning, her arms were like above her head. What even was the purpose of that besides like to be dramatic? Then she laid down and waited hours in that bathroom to be discovered. At the trial, the Maryland state attorney said that it was a brutal, slow attack, and if you did the math based on the number of unique injuries to Jayna, the attack would have lasted like 16 minutes nonstop. Okay, so Jayna also suffered upwards of 100 defensive wounds from her elbows to her fingertips. She had fought for her life. The medical examiner said that based on the injuries that Jayna sustained, she was alive for all of them, but the last wound was a stab to the back of the neck that severed her spinal cord. That's what actually killed her. The wounds that she sustained that night were compared to injuries often seen in like high-speed car accidents or falls from heights. Further, the variety of the weapons used in the attack shows that Brittany had to stop at different times to like grab different items from various parts of the store to continue killing Jayna. She spent time staging that fake crime scene. She turned over the computers, the registers, she wrecked the store, and then she laid down in the bathroom for the night. So Brittany's defense lawyers did not dispute that she killed Jayna, but they said that Brittany just snapped, that it wasn't premeditated. The motive of theft was inadmissible because it was hearsay. So Brittany had never been formally accused or charged or terminated or any of that stuff. Like nothing was ever really formally done when Jayna confronted Brittany about the stolen pants, and or Brittany might have been afraid of being fired or worse, that she freaked out. She freaked out, and it was just not premeditated murder because that's a different charge with a different punishment. Do you see where I'm going with this? So the defense was basically asking for a second-degree murder charge because the sentence would be less. So the jury deliberated an hour, 1 hour, and they found Brittany Norwood guilty of first-degree murder. And remember, they hadn't even heard any of the theft issues, so like they didn't even need the motive. That's how strong the evidence was. Brittany's DNA was everywhere. Quote, "You're one hell of a liar, ma'am," said Judge Robert Greenberg during the sentencing hearing, and he sentenced Brittany to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge said, quote, "You will live. There will be Christmases. There will be telephone calls. There will be visits. The only visits Jayna Marie will have are those to her grave." Alexa, how do you pronounce the word posthumously?
I pronounce that posthumously, but I'm always working on how I say things and I might not have it right.
Okay, thank you. Jayna Marie was
Anytime, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope you're enjoying your evening. Looks like tomorrow will be sunny.
Thank you, Alexa. It's very nice. Jayna Marie
I like
was...
to show kindness whenever I can.
Alexa's over here being self-aware. We're having a full damn conversation. Wow. So Jayna Marie was posthumously awarded her second master's degree from Johns Hopkins University. Brittany Norwood made one appeal of her conviction, but was denied. She is currently serving her time in the Maryland Women's Correctional Facility in Jessup, Maryland, which is actually not far from here. The Bethesda Lululemon store stayed open for years after this murder occurred, and a stained glass window mosaic was constructed with the word love in memorial to Jayna. The store eventually relocated to another space in the same neighborhood, but the mosaic wouldn't fit in the window of the new place, so Lululemon actually sent the mosaic to Jayna's family. Now, this happened about a year before I moved to town, and it's funny because for something that was so sensational, I had never heard of it. So that is the story of the Lululemon murders. There's actually quite a bit of controversy surrounding Lululemon as a brand, as a company, the founder, that whole thing. I'm not going to go into that because that could be a whole nother video. Have you heard of this story before? I hadn't heard of it until recently, so let me know in the comments below. Maybe you live in this area, maybe you shopped in that store, maybe you knew these ladies in passing. Let me know in the comments. Be very interested to hear that. I hope you guys like the new design. Don't forget to check the description box for the link to my Threadless shop for this, the hoodies, and the mugs. Also, don't forget to check out Cursive on Instagram. You will not regret it. I think that wraps up this episode of Crue Trime. Thank you so much for hanging out today and for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this one, then let me know with a thumbs up and a comment down below. Let me know what kind of story, or if you have a particular story that you want me to cover, let me know down below. I upload new videos here on YouTube every week. You can also follow me on some of the other social channels, and I think that's it for now. I will catch you next week in the next video. Bye! So many brushes, and I just use the same 4 brushes. Rookie. Posthumously. There is glitter all over my face. Posthumous. Wow. Shh. Hang on a second.
Sorry, I feel like a lot of pressure about this now. Okay.
God, this chair is so squeaky. Yes, my skateboard star.
I had to stop because all the kids were smoking too much weed.
Oh no.
I was like, oh, let me get away from here. I bought beers for the weekend.
Beers?
Yeah.
What sort?
I've got the Sam Adams Winter and the Bad Elf.
That 11% shit?
Yeah.